This issue introduces a revenge movie sleeper that encourages good and punishes evil. In the hot summer of 1966, Zoran Michael John Tommy was a child from 4 problem families living in the slums of New York. Every day, they either played around or got into trouble. Fortunately, they were always taken care of by the priest. In order to let the children have a different fate from their parents, the priest helped them by various means. He hoped that these children would have a new starting point in life one day. Only eating 4 children did not appreciate the good intentions of the priest. The 4 children were like brothers and sisters, inseparable, but they had more restlessness than ordinary children that could not be released. One day, the 4 children suddenly wanted to play a trick on the street vendor, so they stole his stall cart. However, when they passed the subway entrance, the stall cart that they did not catch slid down the stairs. The car hit an innocent passerby. Fortunately, the passerby did not die, but was seriously injured. But the 4 were still found guilty and will serve 6 to 18 months in Wilkinson Juvenile Detention Center. Entering the Juvenile Detention Center is the beginning of a nightmare. The 4 children will be humiliated and tortured by the prison guards here. On the first day, they learned the first lesson of life in the cafeteria. The guards made them kneel on the ground and eat the food under their feet. Not only that, the prison guards also abused them indescribably at night. If they did not obey, they would suffer more severe humiliation and corporal punishment. Even if the priest visited the 4 friends many times, they did not dare to ask for help. Before the end of the prison-like life, the children vowed not to tell anyone about their life experience in prison. They hoped that this history could be buried in their hearts when they walked out of prison. After adulthood, Zoran and Michael became famous journalists and prosecutors, while John and Tommy gave up on themselves with unhealed psychological trauma and eventually became backbones of the gang. Although they maintained a good friendship, they avoided getting together because they would inadvertently touch the wounds deep in their hearts. So they drifted away from each other and carefully avoided the minefields of their hearts. One night, John and Tommy walked into a bar for fun and saw the captain of the warning team who was having dinner. After repeated confirmation, the 2 decided to kill him. The hatred in their hearts and the humiliation in their youth were buried deep in their hearts. In fact, they would inadvertently bring back overwhelming memories. Sitting in front of them was the captain who had humiliated them countless nights. The memory of the destruction and humiliation during that period could not be erased even if they became backbones of the gang. After revealing their identities to the captain, they shot him in front of everyone and then left calmly. However, they were still caught by the police and charged with murder. After learning the news, Zoran quickly contacted Michael to discuss countermeasures. Michael also did not keep the past in his heart. He had been secretly collecting relevant information about these prison guards on his own. These prison guards had decent jobs after leaving the juvenile detention center, and Michael had been waiting for the right opportunity to take revenge. John and Tommy's killing of the captain disrupted Michael's plan, but gave him another plan. Michael planned to sue his 2 brothers on behalf of the prosecution. Zoran found a puppet lawyer for John and Tommy. According to Michael's arrangement, the lawyer representing John and Tommy must be an obedient lawyer. Can guide according to the prompts written by Michael. Witness Michael, as the prosecutor, did not intend to win the case, but wanted to use clever arrangements to lure out the snakes and expose the darkness in the juvenile detention center. Michael gambled his own future just to make these people's crimes known to the world. Zoran asked Michael, "Are you sure you want to do this? Isn't our oath after being released from prison to forget the indelible traces of the past?" Michael retorted, "Do you still turn on the lights when you sleep?" Zoran was speechless. For so many years, even if someone was guarding him, he had to turn on the lights to sleep. He was afraid that as soon as he closed his eyes, the devil-like figure would pounce on him again. No matter how he tried to repair the trauma in his heart, it never healed. An alcoholic lawyer was forced by the gang leader to become John and Tommy's defense lawyer. Fortunately, he was just a tool. He would get the outline of questions and corresponding answers drafted by Michael in advance. He just needs to follow Michael's script. At the same time, Michael volunteered to be the prosecutor of this case. In order to make his plan successful, Michael needs to convince the judge to allow another former prison guard, Jefferson, to testify in court as the captain's character witness. This is an unusual arrangement. Usually, only defense lawyers would make such a suggestion. Arrange others as character witnesses for the suspect to prove his consistent good character and leave a good impression on the jury. Whether the victim has a high character or not has nothing to do with the case, not to mention that the victim is dead. Michael explained to the judge that the victim is not just a name on the complaint, but also a living person. The murder of such a person is enough to prove the cruelty of the suspect. The judge consulted the defense lawyer's opinion. Obviously, the defense lawyer, the master, would not have any objection. Jefferson was one of the prison guards who bullied the pervert. As an old friend of the captain, he thought he would show the image of a prison guard with high moral character in court. Unexpectedly, he fell into a prearranged trap. The drunk lawyer took the questions drafted by Michael and gradually got out the crimes committed by the prison guard in the juvenile detention center. As the perpetrator, the unbearable memories hit Jefferson's conscience under the stimulation of the questions. Jefferson burst into tears and was full of regret for the past. His testimony not only proved the beastly behavior committed by the captain and himself, but also provided a confession for the crimes he committed. Michael in the court became the director of the whole drama. He was obviously the prosecutor's lawyer, but he wanted to lose the case and then make the past darkness known to the world. The plan was smoothly implemented. Eugene's crimes in the past were one by one exposed in the court. Michael asked the drunk lawyer to focus on Eugene's crimes in the juvenile detention center and cleverly conceal John and Tommy's motives for murder. Jefferson's testimony was deleted from the record by the judge. The Northern Tribunal could not judge the guilt of the two based on Jefferson's testimony. This did not surprise Michael. He asked Jefferson to testify in court just to let him talk about his beastly experience in the juvenile detention center, not to use it to exonerate John and Tommy. Next, Michael instructed Zwoluen to find a priest and let him lie to prove Tommy and John's alibi. The priest watched the four children grow up and always hoped that these children could get on the right path. Although the four people chose different lives in the end, the harm they suffered in their childhood. The priest was not surprised when he heard about the harm for the first time, just because he was an experienced person. After thinking for a long time, the priest felt that perjury was not a betrayal of the law or God, but a punishment for sin, making the sky a mirror. He hoped to help the two children get out smoothly and change their hearts from now on. The priest holding the Bible swore to testify for the two defendants. The priest's lies led to John and Tommy being acquitted. The four people sang and celebrated after their victory in the court trial. However, they all knew that the innocent and romantic childhood days were gone. After they entered the juvenile detention center, their bodies and minds were destined to say goodbye to the innocent days. They bore not only the price of growing up, but also the pain of humiliation that would accompany them throughout their lives. No matter how they struggled, they could not ignore the past or bury it like ordinary people. The sleepers woke up but still had to carry the story of yesterday. Some things happened and could not change the trajectory of progress. The ending was like fate and the soul could not be saved. The page of the Count of Monte Cristo that was opened could only stay on the page that was opened forever. Due to a tragic defeat in a lawsuit that was sure to win, Michael quit his job as a lawyer and moved to the countryside of England to become a part-time carpenter. He no longer worked as a lawyer and did not get married. He lived a stable life alone. Living the life. Zoran became a writer and recorded his past in writing. John and Tommy did not live a reformed life as the priest imagined. John died drunk at home on his 29th birthday and was charged with 5 murders. Tommy was also killed at close range by his enemies at the age of 29. After the film was released, the New York Juvenile Detention Center denied that similar incidents had ever happened. However, as a writer, Zoran insisted that this was his real experience. He just adjusted the name, time, and place. Memories emerged in time seemed to have returned to the original happy era. They held the trophy together, sprayed water with a hose, basked in the sun with their upper bodies naked, and wandered in the bright hope. At that time, they thought the road ahead was bright and they could always walk hand in hand. However, they were still afraid of a place deep in their hearts. Friends who like it, please remember to follow and forward it.